Welcome to Jewish Life. I'm Susie Kaufer. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a very special show for you here. We have a wonderful couple, a very honored, esteemed guest of ours. It's Rabbi Mendel Loschak and his wife Rochel. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Thanks for coming on the show. We've been wanting to have you on for some time, and this is a great honor for us to have you on the show. It's a rare opportunity to get some inside workings of rabbihood and Mrs. Rabbihood, and you work at UCSB at Chabad. And could you tell us a little bit about the kind of work you do there? It's what Chabad is about and how it works on the campus, and your role and your family, and just tell us a little bit about how it all works up there.
Well, it all began a good couple of years ago now. My family, the Loschaks, raised myself and my bunch of brothers and sisters here in Santa Barbara. So I kind of always grew up here. My father has a synagogue in town, the Chabad house, and I just kind of always had students coming over the house when I was growing up, interested in Judaism. So when I got married to my lovely wife, Rochel, so we just kind of decided, maybe we could start up a Chabad house completely dedicated to the students at UCSB. The idea of a Chabad house is, going back already many years, there's a famous rabbi in Brooklyn, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who came over from Eastern Europe right around the Second World War. And he basically really was constantly encouraging all the people that would listen. There's so many Jews out there, and so many of them, especially in America, don't have the education that maybe you have been afforded, myself included. So help them out, reach out to them, and give them the opportunity to connect with their roots. And so Chabad houses started opening up all over the world, and that's why my parents moved to Santa Barbara, which is not necessarily your large Jewish community like Los Angeles or New York. And they opened up a Chabad house here to reach out to the Jewish community of Santa Barbara, to give them that opportunity. And when I got married and started my own family and wanted to do something, so I kind of followed in those same footsteps, that do something for the students at UCSB, that they should be able to have some home, kind of a home away from home, where they can connect with their roots, or just experience something Jewish, meet some Jewish friends. If it's a holiday, they can come and celebrate with us. If it's Shabbat, the weekend, and come over, there's the Jewish Shabbat. And so we've been doing that for, it's 9 years now.
Wow, that's fantastic. And are most of these kids who come, are the students that come to you, are they religious? Are they Orthodox? Do they have to be Orthodox to come be with you there?
We like to say at our Chabad house that labels are for clothing, not for people. And definitely
Nice.
not for Jews, and we leave the labels behind. And really, our Chabad house is open to everybody. We have students who don't know much about Judaism, and we have students who grew up in more traditional homes, and they all come together, and we're one big family. And our slogan is, "Where every Jew is family."
Wow.
So we really try to keep to that, and everyone feels comfortable. We try to make everyone feel comfortable.
That's wonderful. Well, I've experienced some of that family feeling with your parents, and it's an extraordinary service that you provide. It's a wonderful thing to feel like you're not in it alone. You're not sort of doing your Judaism alone, or just if you have a small family, or it's nice to be able to connect with a family that's part of your religion. And you have children. Of course.
Yes, I have 5 wonderful children.
5 children. And how do they play a
Thank
part
God.
in this activities?
So they're really part of our Chabad house. They really have a lot to offer the students, and it's amazing the students can see how Jewish kids are raised in a Jewish household and with Jewish education, and learn a lot from them. And they see our son all of our children actually make Kiddush on a Friday night, and it's inspiring to see such young children who know so much, and I think it's inspiring for them. And my children love the students, and they become friendly with them, and it's sort of like home for them, for a lot of the students, and it's nice. They get to really become part of a family, and it's something special.
It is special. It's wonderful.
There's so much out there in Isla Vista, and it's so important and so wonderful to be able to have a safe place for them to be and to experience Judaism and in a safe environment outside of all the craziness that goes on there. And this is one thing we always speak about, how inspiring it is for us that students on a Friday night, we have Shabbat dinners every Friday night. There's so much going on in Isla Vista, and there's so much partying that everyone can do, and the fact that they choose to, even if they're going to go later out to party and to do whatever they're going to do, that they choose to first come to Chabad house and to experience Shabbat and experience Judaism. That's an incredible thing, and it's really like hats off to them, because there's so much going on, and they really feel like they're going to do something Jewish tonight first.
Wow.
So that's really, it's an amazing thing.
That is amazing. And do you teach them about Shabbat, about the holidays? Do you have classes about it, or do they already know walking in the door what's what, or how does that go?
We try to offer something for everyone. So we absolutely have throughout the week, before the holidays, we definitely are giving classes to educate. So many of these people, even if they did grow up with it, often you get to a college age and maybe it was forced on you, or maybe you didn't like to attend, and all of a sudden now you're making your own decisions, and so you say, yeah, what is that Shabbat? What is that Yom Kippur? What does that mean? And how is that meaningful for me? I always didn't appreciate going to the synagogue maybe, but as you get older, you start to think about those a little bit more. So we're teaching all the time, and we also like to try to bring the teaching along with some kosher food. First of all, because a college student loves the food, and more importantly, also it's a kosher meal that they wouldn't be able to get on the college campus unless they made it themselves. So there's always classes, and you always feel like that's in a way some of the most connections that you make with somebody is when they're really learning. They're college age student. A lot of them are searching. They want to know the meaning behind the things that they practiced for their life, or the meanings behind the things that they never practiced their whole life. And so we're there and trying to and educating, and so we always get a nice turnout. A bunch of students come we have weekly events. We have holiday events. We have speakers we bring down even to speak about specific topics, and so there's always something going on.
Wow, how many people do you usually get on the Shabbos?
Well, thank God, it's growing and growing. We started, and for anyone that knows Isla Vista, there's a street called Abrego. We started on this little shack, literally, and my last name is Loschak, so that was kind of the joke. That was a low shack, which it literally was.
Wow.
And it was probably about five students would come in the beginning, and Rochel and I were just like, if another one would come, it was like, wow, another one finally came. It was so exciting to us. And then we slowly but surely, the word started to get out. We started to meet more and more students, and we got bigger and bigger. And then we had to move to a different street, because everything in Isla Vista is like, what street do you live on? So we lived closer to the water at the time, named Chabad Tarde, which worked perfect for a Jewish organization, because Chabad Tarde translates to Shabbat afternoon.
Huh.
So
Wow.
we always would, it was cute. And that was a bigger home. And we were able to host more people, maybe about 35, 40 people would be able to cram into that space. And thank God we burst out of that space after literally a year. And that was back in 2007. And in 2007, we finally were able, there's a good friend of Chabad, all the Chabads on the college campuses. He lives in New York. His name is George Rohr. And he just really loves what Chabad is doing on campuses. So he said, I'm going to help sponsor a permanent space for the Chabad house.
Wow.
And so he helped us out, and people from the community helped us out, and we were able to move into a really large space, which we thought was really large. And now we can have up to like 100 people on Shabbat, thank God, and it's unbelievable.
Wow.
And they just come streaming in. And what's incredible is that just this year, when we were preparing for Rosh Hashanah for the new year, which was just a couple days ago, we didn't know what to expect, because it's the new year and students are just arriving, and so it's kind of hard to get the word out to everybody that we're here, especially the freshmen that had just arrived. And sure enough, just started to stream in, and all of a sudden I look at Rochel and I said, Rochel, what are we going to do? This is like, we filled up the house. We used all of our tables, we used all of our chairs. And next door we have a Jewish fraternity, the AE Pi fraternity, which a bunch of them come over, and they're like, Rabbi, do you need tables and chairs? Looks like there's not enough place. Yeah, we do. So, well, we have a bunch. So they schlepped over a bunch of tables and chairs, and it was maybe 150 more people came it was amazing. It was unbelievable. And that was like our first event of the year, and it was really nice to see just this incredible outpouring of just Yiddishkeit, Judaism, just being displayed right there in Isla Vista. It was beautiful.
That's incredible. That's a great story. And do you run it alone? Is it just the two of you doing everything? You're in the kitchen alone, or do you have some help? Do you enroll the students to help you? How does that work?
Well, the actual, organization, I guess if you can call it, Mendel and I run it as partners, and he's the rabbi, and we work together. We work on the programs together. There are obviously some things that he'll do and some things that I'll do naturally, but we really run it as a couple and as a family. But as far as cooking or helping with things, we have a student board, and we have a wonderful student board that helps us plan events, and will come and help create the event and set up the event and be there to support us, and they're incredible students. And we also, every Friday I have a team of girls that will come in, and sometimes guys will come in and help me make Chabad, and we have a great time. And it's always the best times of Chabad on Friday afternoons when they come and help and we chat, and it's beautiful that we have a lot of help from the students.
That's very special. And if someone like myself or someone else wanted to do what you two do, let's say or someone that wasn't born into it, is that possible, or do you really have to sort of come from an Orthodox background in order to do what you do?
Well, I think that every single person in the world and every single Jew can inspire other Jews. You know something that many other people don't know, and every single person is an emissary of God to teach the next. And it doesn't matter what you know or what you grew up knowing. It's really about sharing your knowledge now with somebody who doesn't know what you know. You know Aleph Bet, and somebody doesn't know the Aleph, and you can teach. It's I don't think that it is only for people who grew up religious at all.
Great. Well, there's hope for us then. Hope for the rest of us. And do you have any advice that you could give, like kids that are sort of coming into school, that are just starting college, kids that are graduating high school? Any thoughts or advice you would give them as to how to grow in their Judaism?
Well, yeah, specifically like for a Jewish student, or even for anybody, but what we see interacting with the Jewish students is it's important to make good friends right away, and the opportunities are there. There's in any college you're going to go to, and especially in the bigger colleges, UC Santa Barbara's 20,000 at least students that are there. There's so many students, and there's so many different types. So if you're a high school student coming into a college, it looks large, it looks daunting, but ultimately find your niche and find the good group of people, and you're definitely going to find that within that mass of people. There's always going to be people that are going to be the crazies, and they're going to maybe even try to schlep you to do crazy things. But if you find your group, that's really the best way, and get involved. Get involved Jewishly. That's a great way to find good friends. If you get involved Jewishly as a Jewish kid, you're going to immediately have this network of people. For social network, for support network, you're going to meet a good rabbi and his rebbitzin, and what's amazing is most large colleges, and I don't think most colleges, there's so many in America, but most large colleges which attract a lot of Jewish students have a Chabad house already. There's when we started 9 years ago, there was very few. There was just some of the Ivy League schools had, and UCLA and UC Berkeley, and a few had them. But most didn't, and when we started, it just started to just grow and grow and grow, and we've watched it grow. It's incredible because we get together once a year as all the Chabads on the different campuses, all the rabbis and rebbitzins, we all get together, and we have kind of like a little weekend together, share ideas, give each other inspiration, and I would say there's almost 150 or more already. It just grows so fast I don't even know, and it's unbelievable. Every large college in America has one, and so that means even the smaller colleges that are next to those also, people are coming by. Like we have UC Santa Barbara, and then you have City College, and a lot of the City College kids live close enough to UC, in Isla Vista or close, so they partake in a lot of the things we do as well. So you have it's a great opportunity to go out there and meet someone. It's on your own terms now because you're just a student. Usually you're going to be away from home. So you're starting to make your own decisions. So it's a really great way. You surround yourself with a good group. You get involved in the Jewish community, and that's a great beginning.
it's an incredible thing for some students who grew up not in Los Angeles where there's tons of Jews and they were involved in the Jewish community. They lived in smaller towns where maybe they were one of a couple Jewish families in town and didn't have any Jewish friends, and then they come to UCSB and who would think, that they've met their best friends and the incredible friends at the Chabad house, and Jewish, they have a whole network of Jewish friends, and I think that it's so enriching to their lives because now they're Jewish. The Jewish part of their life is so full, and they can share it with so many of their friends here, and that's a really special thing to be able to make good Jewish friends. Is also, it's important, and it's something special for them.
And do you try to stay in touch with your students after they graduate? Do you ever hear any success or follow-up stories about what happens to them?
Yeah, absolutely. We really, today it is so much easier speaking to the people that might have been on a college campus having a Chabad house 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Once they graduated, unless you had some sort of permanent address that maybe their parents lived at, you never really knew where they were, and unless you really were close to them, they moved once, you lost contact. They didn't forward their address, and it was finished. Today with the email and the cell phones, and there's Facebook, there's so many ways to connect with someone else, and it's all the time. The person keeps their email address or their Facebook, profile, and you could always stay connected. And more importantly, a lot of the students that we find move to Los Angeles and trying to find a job or connect with the community there or something. So it's not too far, and we make once a year at least, we make an event for alumni in Los Angeles to get together. We have like a Hanukkah party, let's say, and we'll do some different, we had a wine and cheese tasting event, because now they're over 21, so they can drink the wine and the cheese and eat the cheese, and just get people together again that knew each other from college. And then personally, we try to keep up with them, call them on the phone. And what amazing things happen. And example, we had a student that came around the Chabad house because his girlfriend was coming, and she warned me. She said, "Rabbi, I know you're always asking the people to put on the tefillin, but this guy, he's like so nervous of the religion. I know he's Jewish, of course, but if you're going to ask him to put on the tefillin, he's going to run away." So I said, "Fair. If someone's going to be against that, of course we're not going to ask him. That's silly." And by the way, it's very rare. Most people that you have to put on a tefillin, it's maybe they're a little bit nervous in the beginning, but it's a mitzvah, so it's a commandment, a Jewish deed, and so they do that, and it seems to hit the spot usually. But she told me for this guy, don't ask him, so I didn't. And he started to come. He started to get more and more involved, and it was really, really nice. And then just recently, I've kept up with him. He's graduated maybe 4 years now. I've kept up with him, and just recently he calls me up. He says, "Mendel, I moved to the Jewish community in LA because I'm starting to keep kosher and Shabbat." And I was like, unbelievable. Here's a guy that was like scared to even, I couldn't even ask him about the tefillin, and now he's moving to a Jewish community to keep kosher and Shabbat. So you have so many stories like that, and people call me after their wedding. They send me their wedding invitations, and I even do some of the weddings of the people that I know. They ask me to officiate as a rabbi at their weddings because I'm the closest rabbi they know. So that's an honor for me, a Jewish wedding to be able to officiate at, and someone that we saw kind of grow up, in their college years. So thank God we've been able to keep up with many of the students that we've gotten to know, and it's great. It's great as we watch them continue on in their lives, and they always get to hear about what we're doing back at UCSB, and they're always, we miss it.
That's fabulous.
And it's also interesting that the kind of work that we do with the students, it's a 4-year term, and then they go on, and you get so close with some students, and they really become part of your family, and we see them all the time, and there's so much interaction, and then it's really sad that they graduate after 4 years and we don't see them. So it's important to keep in touch with them because we really, it's a connection that we've had, and they become part of the family.
That's great. And in the future, do you reach out to them as alumni financially? Do you get support from them financially in that way, or do you have other ways of financing these operations?
We do. Every Chabad has its own financial needs, and they have to provide for themselves. So we don't have a central organization of Chabad somewhere that's funding all the Chabads around the world. Each Chabad is funding themselves, so that makes it really challenging on a college campus, being that our funds the people that are participating in our activities don't have the funds. They're college students, and what does happen, and we hope it's always a challenge, but as they get older, that when they become alumni and they do start to become successful financially, that they always should give back to where they went as a college kid. So we get some funding that way. Parents who their children come to the school and they're really appreciative of what their kid is having over there. They're like, wow, you're feeding my kid all the time with this kosher food. You're inviting him over. If he's homesick, he has somewhere to go. And if it's the new year, he's getting an apples and honey as from you guys, and you're just caring for them. So a lot of parents will also help us out financially and donate to the Chabad house. And it's parents, alumni, and some friends that I have that appreciate what we do. But it's always a challenge, like in any sort of organization. It's always a challenge. So hopefully it'll get better and better, God willing.
Yes, God willing. Well, it's a beautiful thing that you do. I have not actually been up for your services up there, but I'd love to come sometime.
I'd love to have you.
Love to bring Kobe, and I'm sure he'd love to come too. And it's such a rich tradition, and I can't help but wonder how it seems to have grown in popularity over the past few years. And everywhere I turn, maybe it's just because I'm so involved with Jewish life, but it seems more and more interest in Chabad is out there. And what do you think what do you guess that comes from?
It's hard. That's like the famous question: answer everything on one foot. It would be hard to answer that really easily on one foot.
Right.
One thing that I think it seems to me is that Chabad really much tries to give Judaism in its the tradition the way it always was, and no holds barred. This is the way it's been practiced, and we're proud to do it. There's a certain pride, and there's no embarrassment, or just not trying to make it, to change it in order to fit a certain model. On the contrary, to keep the Judaism the way it always was, but make it meaningful within whatever environment you might be. So in a modern environment, it should be meaningful. If it means that there's an iPod app, an iPhone app that you can connect to the Chabad house, so there's going to be an iPhone app. So it's using the modern, Facebook. That Facebook is incredible, and we use that so often to connect with people. So we're using the modern technology, trying to make it interesting, trying to make it fun, trying to make it something that every student can, or anybody can appreciate. So it's Chabad has really been, Judaism in general, we've been trying to really focus on the mitzvah. This is what it is. This is what God gave us thousands of years ago on Mount Sinai, and it is meaningful. Sometimes if you water it down, it sometimes loses its meaning. And so to keep it real and proud, and people see us walking around as a proud Jew, that's it's like, wow, there's something to it. Why would these people be so proud of what? What are they proud of? And so you start to learn, the beauty of the mitzvahs the way they are. There's an incredible heritage we have. There's incredible heritage, and people today, not necessarily because of a lack of education or hundreds of reasons, they don't really see that. So in Chabad really tries to say, this is, if you're going to really experience Judaism the way it's meant to be, so to speak, then you're going to love it. And the proof is there. You see people one after another from any walk of life, if they're very, very involved, or if they're never heard of, some kid asked me once, he says, how come my grandmother always gives me stuff in multiples of 18? What's this number, 18? And so he didn't know that's like the chai, and it's just like people just clueless. And so when you show it to them, this joy, this excitement, this happiness of doing it, this pride, and thank God, it's just growing and growing and growing, and I can't. It's just going to keep on growing. We see every year. Thank God, the people are keeping on coming. Everything in the world that was created by God is created for a purpose, and there can't be something that doesn't have a purpose. And if it's not forbidden, if it's not something like a non-kosher food or whatever it is, where we refrain from, if it's something that is something permissible, use it for something good, use it for something positive. And so that has always been the case. And I'll give you an example. When they started to get advanced in the 80s with satellite TV technology, so the Rebbe said, how about we connect on Hanukkah all of the continents of the world, which today would be no big deal with the internet, but this is before the internet was something that everyone had. So the Rebbe said Hanukkah is all about spreading the miracle, the fact that the Jews had this the Syrian Greeks were the famous story of Hanukkah, and they won the war, and they had the miracle with the oil, and so we light the menorah, etc., etc. So part of the holiday is to spread awareness about the holiday. That's actually part of the holiday. Not all holidays in Judaism do we do that. A lot of them, Passover, we have in our homes, and other things that we do more privately in the synagogue. Hanukkah, we do, menorahs out in the windows. People put them out. Now the Chabad puts them all over in different parks and everywhere you can think of in front of the White House. And so the Rebbe said, let's connect the world through the satellite, and we could light the menorah simultaneously on 7 continents. And it was incredible. I was a younger child in the 80s, and I was just like in Los Angeles. I went to this place where they had a showing of it, and we were watching simultaneous split screens all the different continents. It was an incredible thing, and the electronic part of it, which I don't even understand, was probably, amazing feat at the time. And so definitely, Chabad has always been of that idea. The Rebbe always kind of was teaching that if something is potentially could be used for good, use it for good. And so technology is one of those things. Judaism can and should be something enjoyable. It should be something that a person is excited to do. It's not just when I go bowling, I have fun, but when I'm doing my Jewish stuff, I'm completely bored. Judaism itself should be something meaningful, and meaningful could be exciting. And so that's the way we were raised. My parents raised us that way, with a certain excitement for what we do and a pride. And maybe it even helped a little bit or a lot that we grew up in an environment where we were always looked at by others, looked at for kind of how are the rabbi's kids acting. It's always, you're always on show and on display in a way, in a positive way, because people are interested. People are interested. How does the rabbi raise his kids? Are they going to follow in his footsteps or not? And our parents raised us. We were proud to be that example. In Judaism, somehow there's something intangible. It's kind of a spiritual connection that we have with God, and if it's developed, people are just they're gonna take to it.
I also think that we grew up with the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who created this whole concept of going out into the world and making Chabad houses and bringing Judaism to the masses. Had an incredible love for the Jewish people, and really passed that over to all of his followers, that every single Jewish person, every single Jewish soul counts, and we're all part of one family, and we're all in this together. And so we grew up with that feeling and that understanding that we're all family, and we're all part of one thing. And so we try hard to expose and not impose Judaism to everybody that we meet.